Cool. So you either expectedly or unexpectedly walk into a talk titled, "Why You Shouldn't Use Stacker News." How many of you know what Stacker News is? Okay. So this may not be as weird as it could be. So why you shouldn't use Stacker News, unironically given by someone who works at Stacker News. That's me. And that will work. Cool. So who am I? My given name is Keyan, but my chosen name is Coop. And I founded Stacker News 2 years ago after moving to Austin, Texas. This picture is my avatar form. If I were only a digital being, that's probably what I'd look like. So what is Stacker News? Stacker News is like Reddit, but your karma is Bitcoin. And I don't know, like the purpose maybe is it explores the utility of Bitcoin in an online community. Have fun. And so we try to answer questions like, do social media markets make sense? Like, what does that even mean? Try to basically figure that out. And could money fix what's wrong in social media? Like, is what's wrong in social media a lack of scarcity, maybe? And what, if you take that as given, like, what results from that? So that's kind of what Stacker News is. But this talk is about why you shouldn't use that. And I don't actually want you to not use Stacker News. But this is kind of a product development exercise. It also feels weird, which I kind of like. And maybe you're into that. But also, if you're anything like me, you don't want to be sold. What you mostly want to hear is the truth, and so that's what I'm going to give you. I also would struggle to give you a sales pitch, to be honest. I find it manipulative when someone tells me that I should use something. So I'm going to do the opposite and tell you you shouldn't. And it's pretty easy for me just to talk about facts and not give you promises. So let's get into it then. So here's our table of contents. We're going to go, these are like kind of the big picture things of why you shouldn't use Stacker News. Self-sovereignty is lacking. I'm a new ruler, but how do you know there are actually new rules? You can't. Concept of the project could entirely be fatally flawed. The tech is whack by industry standards. I mean, if a bunch of industry experts looked at Stacker News, they'd probably be like, dude, whack. The big if is if it works, it'll probably get killed by popularity. So let's get into it. So the self-telemetry is lacking. The wallet on Stacker News is custodial. Suffers all the risks of that. Rehypothecation risk, hack risk, bug risk. Bug risk we have a precedent in. Like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I wrote in a bug that gave the entire people on the site 846 Bitcoin. Enough Bitcoin to make Michael Saylor blush. And he's so tan from being on his yacht all the time. I'm not sure you'd be able to see it, but the data is not portable. So your identity, your relationships are not, you're not able to take them anywhere else. In contrast to something like Nostr that gives you that ability. Aspects of the privacy are dependent on trust. You have to trust me, say, to not share your email address if you give me your email address, or if I'm collecting your IP addresses, which I could be and not tell you, maybe I'm correlating that with other things. Maybe I don't know. Like, you have to trust me about your privacy. And the algorithm is hard to understand, even though it's open source. And it's hard for users to control. They're not fully in control of what they see. I'm trying to determine what they should see based on what everyone is saying, but ultimately they're not in complete control. Let's see if there's any notes here. Okay, I did it. New ruler, but no proof of new rules. Products are promises. So I'm promising you, like with all the others, I'm promising you I'm going to keep it private. I'm promising you I'm not going to censor you. In contrast to a protocol which has properties. It just is what it is, and you can kind of assess it on that. We've got experimenting with ads. And we all know how that goes, right? I mean, it usually doesn't end well. We're venture funded, too. We all, one of my investor calls me and tells me I need to do KYC. What if my investor calls me and tells me I need to, I have a business to run, and I need to do whatever else because they want a new crib. That's a conflict it should be a concern when a company might have interests that conflict with your own, and they frequently do, and venture-funded ones have another source of it. There's no business model, so we might just disappear, eventually. Let's see if I got anything else in my notes. No. Cool. Number 3, the concept could be fatally flawed. I'm asking people to pay for something they traditionally get for free. How crazy is that? It's like if I started bottling water and selling it. It's insane. It might just be, it might be nothing like that. Yeah, that's crazy. We give away our revenue, which is, it's just kind of like a stupid thing to say. The incentives that we have may be pathological. I'm not by career origin a game theorist, and there might not be a way to even design a game such that it isn't pathological, but. So it might be pathological. Moderation may be unavoidable. One of the things I set out to do with Stacker News is use Bitcoin to prevent the need for moderation. And maybe it can't solve that problem. It's just an intuition that I have. Is it legal? Am I committing crimes? Should I be in jail? Help me. We don't know, because it's like, if you send me a stat on Stacker News, did we both commit a crime? Are you an accomplice to giving me something, whatever one stat is worth to the feds? And then, the part of the incentives being pathological is, people are like, well, maybe it attracts the wrong people, maybe it attracts the wrong behavior. It certainly incentivizes certain behavior, and might incentivize even breaking things like the moderation and all these other things. So it's tricky. Whacked by industry standards. So the tech stack is naive on the face of it. I use things that people learn when they don't really want to learn programming. When they become a programmer, mostly more out of necessity than perhaps deep kind of theoretical interest. We have thousands of NPM deps, I think. It might even be 1,600. It's insane. Each of those is a security vulnerability. We don't use types. I love dynamic types. I'm kind of a pervert for them, but it's dangerous in some cases. Part of the bug I described earlier was due to a type issue. We have no unit tests. We have no microservices. We poll, we don't do WebSockets. WebSockets are so sleek and smooth and real time. We don't do that. We have no native apps, and we have this precedent of this money-losing bug. We have a precedent of being vulnerable to DDoS attacks. We have a precedent of DOS attacks, bugs and outages. It's endless. And and other than that, like even if it were okay now, like to some extent, flaws inevitably exist in the project. And maybe I'm too dumb to fix them or notice them. Maybe anyone I could pay to think about them is too dumb to notice them and fix them. And finally, if it works, who's to say popularity just won't kill it? I mean, we've already talked about how fragile it is. How much more fragile does something become when it becomes popular? Quite a bit. And the other point is protocols are the future. Like, whether it's tomorrow or 100 years from now, I suspect we'll see social media operate on a protocol. And Stacker News is not a protocol. Stacker News is also free and open source. And who knows if that's even defensible. There isn't much precedent for a B2C company being FOSS. All of the ideas are copyable, and they don't have to be attributed, which wouldn't help anyway. But it also makes us more vulnerable to certain types, kind of things that you can see in the code as far as attacks, more vulnerable perhaps to botting. The algorithm I use, this trust algorithm, if there's a vulnerability in it, you could see it. It'd be relatively trivial to begin to get started trying to break it. We're a startup. We might fail. The product changes all the time. You don't know. That's another aspect of it, right? Like you might come tomorrow, and it's completely different, or worse. It might stay the same in a way that you don't like. You can't control it. And then the Tecker concept may not scale, which I went over earlier. Let's check my notes again. But the other thing is we're tiny. We're not even like a meaningful startup. We're like an upstart. Like flip the words that might be more accurate. I'm the only full-time dev. We have another part-time dev. We have a non-tech generalist, whatever that means. And then we have FOSS contributors, which are awesome. I love them. But we didn't raise very much money. We'll be out of money in 3 to 4 years. We give away our revenue. Help. Anyway. Okay. Anyway, so I still hope to see you on Stacker News. If you didn't mind, if you thought that was okay, the stuff I told, the reasons you should use it. I really won't blame you for not showing up. Like, all these things could be really important to you. And I think I want to give you that choice to make. That's part of the reason of this talk. And then, but my intent is to I put my literal life here. Because that's what I feel like I do oftentimes, is I'm like exhausting my time for this thing. So, and I do truly mean that. For whatever reason, I want to do that. You can find me on those places. That's my horse there. And finally, I wanted to leave you with, why should people use what you've made? Most people think about it from the other angle. It might be interesting to flip it around on yourself. You don't have to do it like this, but maybe you should. The other aspect, like one of the sides of this, is that if you tell people the truth when you're selling them something, it sets a floor or a ceiling on what you're willing to lie about. And so I just told you everything terrible. like literally the most inconvenient things that I could think of with regard to Stacker News. When I tell you, I believe you can earn money on Stacker News, it's way more credible. And so, great salesmen know this. So this talk may be more duplicitous than it seems, although I intend it I do intend it in both in the full pair. But as a product person, this is 50% of your job. 50% of it is figuring out why people should use my product, but the other 50%, and certainly when you're starting much earlier, nearly 100% of it is why people shouldn't use my product. For instance, it doesn't exist, or they can't log in. These kind of basic things. But anyway, I think that's it. I think that's all I've got. Oh yeah, questions. Oh yeah.
Is it fair to say, Keyan, you could literally replace why you shouldn't use and then any lightning company right there? I mean, with some of the stuff that you listed out.
Some of it, but not all of it. That's kind of the point. Is like each product is different and has its own. Like some Lightning apps are not custodial. A lot of the Nostr ecosystem is not custodial. The data portability stuff. So many things. Like there are things that we're doing that are rather experimental, and those are things other people aren't doing yet.
And then the follow-up is, I saw on Stacker News when you posted this slide deck, you did say that this is kind of like a list for you to knock out.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or?
Yep. Yeah. This is what I think about. The other part of this is like. The other selfish part of this is communicating to you that I am not ignorant of all of these flaws, and that you might care that I think about these things and know about them. And because I've run into quite a few people who think the product is the way it is because I don't know it should be better. And like what they don't see is a customer expects to see a fully grown tree, and the thing is just a sapling, and so this is part of me communicating what the fully grown tree looks like. Any other questions, Peter?
Reading up on Stacker News, halfway hats are annoying. I haven't figured out what the color.
That's part of the point. We're doing our job. But yeah, car hits them too. But you can disable the notifications for them.
Ah, good.
Yeah, at super testnet's recommendation.
Why is it that when I get driven to a Wall Street Journal article and I get there, I wish I would text?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice if maybe it was a Lightning paywall? That's what you're. Yeah, that would be cool. I've always wanted, before I was working on Stacker News, one of the things I wanted to do was multiplex, user, publication subscriptions, and then gate it with Lightning, small amounts to pay for the subscription. But I don't know. We try to unpaywall them, but that's I don't know. It's a bummer about the internet. Make it, when you think they would actually?
Maybe if you manage to reach someone in charge of one of these major news, you might actually be willing to undo the paywall.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're way more optimistic than I am, but yeah, that's. I think.
I'm not the one who would do it. So.
I think in the back there was first, and then you, Jana.
Yeah. Are you looking at moving to more of a protocol instead of a platform? And if so, does that move more like Pleb or not?
I'm very interested in figuring out how I can put Stacker News on a protocol. in my pre-seed deck, that was, you know, I have this hit list of like, figure out a way to not do moderation, figure out a way to have user-generated sub-economies, decentralize the thing. Not necessarily in that order. Yeah, I don't Scuttlebutt, Nostr. I experimented with putting it on Nostr. There are things I can't do on Nostr that I want to do. Things I plan to do that I can't do on Nostr. And I think I think we have to wait. We have to see enough motivation in the community to kind of maybe get some of these things that I think are not just Stacker News specific, but generically things that should exist on Nostr. I have to motivate other people to see those things, and it's not easy. Jana?
You were talking a little bit about the incentives that might exist for bad behavior.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if there's any, like, Stacker News is young still, but I wonder if you're seeing any, like, patterns or trends in, like, behavior and, like, what gets incentivized.
Yeah, so I call it. There's certainly a sat fishing behavior is what I call it. It's kind of like catfishing, but they'll post like relatively low effort things in the hopes of getting sats, and then a lot of AI generated content that might be appearing even more frequently on our platform than it might in other places because they can expect to get rewarded for something they put no effort into. Other people think that it creates a more significant echo chamber because it's like this amplification factor. I'm not so sure yet. Like I actually think it's. I think you can. We've only scratched the surface, and I think there's likely lots of like little knobs you can turn to mess with. Moderate the bad behavior with incentives. Yes, Vivek.
How's your lightning management? Have you learned anything from operating it?
I've learned I would not like to have to do it, but it's kind of nice having a public, allowing random people to connect to it because they'll provide me with inbound liquidity. I think I've never asked, but I have like 100 channels. And it runs well. I mean, I freak out every time there's an LND bug or something, but otherwise it's pretty great. I mean, I love being able to run my own bank and just be completely separate and not have to worry about Stripe or whoever else and whether they change their API or frankly it's amazing, and I don't it's unfortunate that you have to be building things to appreciate how significant that is, but I think it is true and it's cool. Yes, dude.
Do you mainly get like for your own DW, do you mainly get like incoming payments or is it roughly balance like 10%
It appears to roughly balance out. I don't check it enough. I mean, the volume, the size of payments on Stacker News is so small that like the channel size is usually several orders of magnitude of like the average payment size. And the average channel is probably roughly the size of our volume in a month, probably. So I'm not really paying too close of attention to it. I'm hoping to get to a point where we're less custodial and don't even have to the service perhaps doesn't degrade. It's sort of node sucks.
I guess a slightly similar question is, how does the Lightning channel volume compare to the volume of the Ethereum system? Like people like this example, people tipping each other in a circular way?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to look at. I don't know. I mean, I suspect I'm also routing other stuff. I don't have any significant outgoing fees. That would be interesting to look at and see because it'd be fun. I think. What?
I can confirm you are routed.
Oh, okay, cool. How can you confirm?
Because I see the routes go through my node to yours.
Oh, excellent.
And there are substantial volumes, so
Yes.
it's not the average Stacker News.
Excellent. We're doing something out there. I think, are we out of questions now? Am I free? Oh, okay.
Well, I've got a suggestion.
Okay, cool.
Related to my earlier comments about like working in publications or Linux kernel news might actually be the right size that you might actually get in touch with them.
Okay.
Because they do have a paywall that's designed for easy bypass. Oh, and they need to have an API that will let you do it with information and you can money for it or something like that.
Okay, Linux kernel news. Okay. I didn't know that was paywalled. All right.
Well, it's so easy to bypass for people with Linux.
I see. Okay. Well, yeah, cool. Well, thank you for coming.